Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather, now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Do not adjust your digital device. What you are about to see and hear may shock and appall you. Join our hosts as they encounter countless thrills, spills, chills, and hilarity as they explore the very weirdest in pop culture. The following media is so strange, so beyond the scope of what is normal, it will make you ask the question, why does this exist? Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Why Does This Exist? I'm Chris.
And I'm Rob.
And Happy New Year, you sick fucks!
Yeah.
We're going to start this year off by talking about a little bit about the some Christmas traditions that you may or may not know about. Well, first we'll talk about the regular one, and then we're going to talk about the one that is probably better. That you see it in America here and there, but like not as often as you should. And we'll discuss that and all the other things. I think it's a much more modern take because it's more of like about the bad guy, but he's pretty justified. Anyway, this is Why Does This Exist? We are a podcast that talks about the very weirdest in pop culture, whether it's a odd tradition like we're about to do, a movie like we've done in the past, or a some kind of a cartoon or specials like we just did, and some music as well. If you want to give us money and do all those things, all the links are in the description below. That's the news. Here's the weather. You are about to witness the true strength of street knowledge from a ragtag group of rogues. So let's get on with the goddamn show. We are talking about both Santa Claus and Krampus.
Yes.
So we're going to discuss those traditions and what goes on in there. You want to start with good old Saint Nicholas, or you want to start with the demonic Krampus?
Well, let's start with Saint Nick because
Okay.
Krampus is related, and you know the Krampus tradition, goes hand in hand with Saint Nick. So Santa Claus or Saint Nicholas or Kris Kringle or many other names,
Papa Gijo.
is actually based. The tradition of Santa Claus is based on an actual Saint Nicholas, who was Saint Nicholas of Myra, who was one of the early bishops of the Christian Church in Greece, and so legend has it that Saint Nicholas became the patron saint of children, and allegedly he also would sneak out and bring gifts to children. And so that tradition kind of got handed down throughout European culture, and especially Northern and Eastern European culture, and it became combined with several other traditions. Especially in Germany, there's a big kind of link between the Santa Claus tradition and Saint Nicholas tradition and the Wild Hunt, which, for those who don't know, the Wild Hunt was apparently a ghostly hunting party in the sky that was led by Odin that people would reportedly see. And so that kind of got combined as Christianity spread throughout Germany and Eastern Europe. The tradition of the Wild Hunt got combined with the tradition of Saint Nicholas.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Actually.
and makes sense because Odin, is this bearded, god, and Saint Nicholas is portrayed as having this big white beard. So there's also an interesting link between the Santa Claus mythology and Eastern European traditions of ingesting hallucinogenics and doing
Oh, I
rituals.
didn't know about that.
Yeah, the reason why Santa Claus is
Is this rooted in like the paganism?
yeah, well, yes, kind of. It is pagan tradition, and it got again. This is like Slavic, Eastern European, like so Poland, Russia, that kind of area. There was a tradition of ingesting Amanita muscara mushrooms, and hallucinating and doing these rituals. And for those who don't know, Amanita muscara is like the traditional like stereotype mushroom. It's the mushrooms of like Super Mario with the red cap with the white dots. And Amanita muscara is slightly poisonous, but it also has hallucinogenic effects similar to psilocybin. Actually, I would say even stronger than psilocybin in some ways. So
Have
you
you ever
really
had
trip.
those?
I have eaten Amanita muscara gummies, and I had a
Oh
wild
shit.
trip. So it was,
Okay.
yeah, it was, and I got sick to my stomach too because I got Amanita muscara poisoning from it. But it was, it was interesting. It was the highest I've probably ever been, like between like smoking weed, and I've done psilocybin before, which that's like minor. Uh, that's like not too bad, and but the Amanita muscara really, like, I was like on another fucking planet with that shit. Um. So anyway, back to my original thing. So that's where the Santa Claus having a red coat with white trim comes from, is from the coloration of the Amanita muscara mushrooms and
Huh.
the rituals that pagans would do, Slavic pagans would do after ingesting the mushrooms. That got combined with the tradition of Saint Nicholas, which on Saint Nicholas's Day, which is December 6th, uh, people would dress up as Saint Nicholas and bring toys around to all the children in the villages and stuff like that.
Yep.
And it was, to celebrate Saint Nicholas because he was the patron saint of children. So that's where it came from that he brought toys to the children. Um,
He also would come with a horse and not like a whole like fleet of reindeer. I'm not sure where the
yeah.
reindeer come from.
So the reindeer aspect and of Santa Claus specifically actually comes from that tradition of ingesting the Amanita muscara, because they would trip out and think reindeer were flying.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well,
So
anyway, the children were at least kind enough to put a shoe out filled with hay and a carrot for the horse, so that's very nice.
yeah.
Um,
And, the actual like tradition of Santa Claus is like such an amalgamation of so many different things, because it's also an amalgamation of Father Christmas, which was a
yes,
British folklore thing, from the
and
British
also a
Isles.
lot of it is just part of the Catholic Church just trying to erase all trace of paganism.
Yeah. Well, it's not. It was weird because they were trying to erase all trace of paganism, but at the same time incorporating like all these pagan traditions to try to get pagans to join the religion. Because the celebration of Christmas in December is very much coincides with the winter solstice,
Right.
which is Yule in the pagan religions, and that's on December 21st. As opposed to December 25th, Christmas. So, it was always very much and all the Christian holidays really coincide with pagan holidays. Easter coincides with Ostara, which is the pagan spring festival. So there's always been a correlation there, because again, the Catholic Church adopted a lot of pagan traditions to try to get pagans to join the church.
Right. I'm sure that they were like the majority religion at the time, so they were
Yes.
trying to convert as many as they could
Well,
so that
paganism
well,
for a long time was the majority religion in Europe. It didn't really Catholicism really didn't take over until like the Middle Ages.
right.
It kind of started to take a foothold during the Roman Empire. But Catholics were persecuted in the Roman Empire because the Roman Empire was largely pagan. It wasn't until Constantine, Emperor Constantine, converted to Catholicism, it was just Christianity at that point, because this is before
Mhm.
the split between the Eastern and Western churches. So it was just Christianity. There was no Catholicism and Eastern Orthodox yet, because it hadn't split yet. But it was Emperor Constantine converting to Christianity that really brought Christianity into, the mainstream in the Roman Empire. And then later, after the pagans, after the sack of Rome and the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the barbarians, the Goths and the Germanics and the Ostrogoths and all that, they started to slowly convert to Christianity over time as well. But they kind of held on to their traditions longer, and I think that's why you get more of these pagan traditions in Christianity, is because they were more.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
They were more steadfast in holding on to their traditions, and they didn't want to give up their festivals.
So they had to kind of they almost had to keep warping the traditions into whatever the Catholic vision would be, just until they could finally get enough of them to cross over.
I think a lot of it too was, the Ostrogoths sacked Rome, and of course Rome was the capital of the church. It is to this day, to the Catholic Church, before the split between the Eastern and Western Church. So when the Ostrogoths sacked Rome, I think they kind of the church itself was kind of in a position of what do we do here? Because we don't have the Roman Empire to protect us anymore. So we have to try to kind of integrate. Let's try to convert them, but also at the same time, don't push it too hard, because, we're the minority here now,
Right.
So
Interesting.
that's everyone's history lesson for the day.
Yeah, and it's just, and there goes this. That's how the slow bleed of the Catholic influence began to spread, I suppose.
Yes,
Um,
and
to be honest, I really think that I wish we had stayed pagan, because it was more nature oriented, and
yes.
I think the world would have just been a very different place had we just
Well,
been more a lot more pagan in general. And
I mean,
don't think that
it's
we would. It's very clear that we would probably not have a lot of the problems that we do today.
there's an argument that the Christian dark ages really stifled humanity's progress scientifically for a good 100 years, and
Sure did.
if the fall of the Roman Empire and the Christian dark ages hadn't happened, we'd probably be 1,000 years ahead of technology right now.
I'm sure we would be, and we probably would be. We'd probably be a lot more primal with certain instincts. I think. I don't think that as a culture we'd be as easy to control as we are as a society. I think that there would be a lot more benefits had we stayed under a pagan.
Well, paganism is making a comeback. Neo-paganism is actually it's one of the fastest growing religious movements in the world right now.
Really?
And in fact, Iceland recently opened, within the last few years, the first temple of Odinism in over 1,000 years.
Wow.
So it is definitely taking hold again, paganism.
Well, good.
And more and more people are turning to, because it's again, it's like you said, it's, instead of being told what to believe, it's divinity on your own, and you find it within yourself and within nature. And I think that appeals to a lot of people that are sick of the man-made dogma of the mainstream religions.
Right. I think that's how it should be. I mean, to be honest with you, I think everything is in nature and it's all in energy. And I don't think that.
Yep.
And I mean, the biggest argument that I've always had for anybody who's been very religious or anything, when they're trying to prove or disprove God, is always just well, their thing is always, well, how can you say this or how can you explain that? They try to find some thing that no person can possibly explain, and then their like loophole is just, oh well, then it must be God. Where it's just like, well, each and every one of these textures and scriptures that you are preaching, which you probably haven't even read, because let's face it, most of you haven't,
Right.
and you haven't read it backwards and forwards. You don't even really know what happens, except maybe the Book of Revelation, and that's about it. But you also just like a lot of the times it's all writ like everything has been written by a man. That just
Right.
like it's not like, there is nothing divine of any of this. This is supposedly the word of God, whatever exactly that means. So, but it's all written by man, and man over the entire course of human history has proven to be an unreliable narrator, right?
Yeah.
Because if we look at, because your whole other, because then when you point to, you know, all of like the ancient civilizations and how there was literally a god for everything until we discover that it was just science, and this was the way that this is like this is just the elements basically, where that we started throwing out, oh, maybe there wasn't a god for rain, maybe there wasn't a god for the sun, maybe there wasn't a god for this, that, and the other thing, but suddenly, but and they can, and the funny thing is the religious person can agree to those things until you say, well, then there might not be anything at all. And then but that's when they draw the line, because there has to be one for some reason. There has to be just one. And it never really sat well with me, and it never made any sense to me, because
Mhm.
it's like, you can't.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
If you've just agreed that everything else has been and can be debunked, what is your hesitation with this one?
Right.
Like, could you not use the same logic to debunk that?
Yeah.
And they just cannot get over it. Where I think it's just energy. It's energy, it's nature, and it's something that, as civilization keeps building and building and building, and we keep eliminating our natural resources, and we lose touch with that. I think humans are very much tied to the earth, and that's something that I think we would still have kept sacred had we undergone a pagan civilization.
Mhm.
And among other things, I think, I mean, I didn't expect us to take like a tangent like this episode, but we do wacky things all the time. But
Well, I don't think you could talk
yeah,
about the traditions of Christmas and European folklore without going into the history of the Christianization of Europe and how it changed
right.
civilization.
But I think I think everything stems from the takeover of Catholicism, basically.
Yeah.
Um, because you like look at every world leader. For some reason, most of them are Catholic or Christian of some kind. If
Mhm.
if you look to if you look to the United States, not
Well,
one,
technically,
not
there was only
well,
one Catholic president in the United States, and that's
well,
Kennedy.
that's true.
Every
Oh, he
other
was.
president was some kind of Protestant.
That's true, and Kennedy was the less good one anyway.
Yeah.
So because that tells you a bit of everything, I suppose. Um, but when you just look at all the others, when you just like, you also look at the state of the world and all these and all these people, and there's an increasingly larger mental health crisis, and everybody's like full of pills and full of synthetics and everything like that, where your whole body is the world's greatest chemical factory. You shouldn't need any of this, but we're all sick, and I think it's because we have less nature to
Hmm.
commune with. There's increasing isolation, there's increasing separation you know from the mother, essentially. And we I don't think we and there's all kinds of other things going on and being put into your food and everything, where like this is not what was intended. I think a lot of that is just showing all over. And I think if you look at the people are sick, and I think that's a direct correlation with the Earth. The Earth itself is sick,
Yeah.
because there's no connection there. I think we might be a direct connection to that, and I think there was a lot of abilities that we had that are now lost. Um, like the pineal gland and the third eye, and the ability to see all the other, to see into, like, just to see beyond just the
Yes.
physical world, to see
Yeah.
to commune with the spirit world. And I think that we had a lot more. I think there was a lot more communication that we were able to do.
Well, I think
That
the
you
psychedelic
know,
revolution too is kind of aided in people reconnecting with that because they've actually uh they're actually working. I think at Oxford they're doing a study now um in giving people DMT and having them basically map or just like what they see because there is commonality in every people, like everybody who's done DMT has seen similar things. So now the
hmm,
thought is that you're not like just hallucinating. You're actually your brain is going to a different plane of existence, and that's why everybody has similar experiences on DMT because it's just you're not like it's not just a hallucination your brain is making up. It's a real place that like when you take the hallucinogenics of DMT, your brain is able to like see into this other reality basically.
yeah, I believe that.
And that goes back to the pineal gland and how the mind's eye and all that and the third eye. um and that's been a theme throughout every culture throughout history basically of
Yep.
knowing exactly where the pineal gland was and how it was like the third eye. Going back thousands of years before medical science, you know early humans in like Egypt uh the Indus Valley culture, in modern day India, like everybody, all of them knew what the pineal gland was and that it was the third eye.
Right, and all of their stories are similar too. If
Yeah.
you look at, if you look at all of the old texts from, like, all the different religions, they all have similarities. If you look
Yeah.
at the ancient gods, they all have similarities.
The flood story is another one.
Yes.
The theme of the flood has come up in so many pretty much every ancient
Yeah.
culture has a great flood story.
Yes, there's always a flood.
So there's a point where you have to wonder where if like
How to have fun, anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
if myth is really just remembrance of something that really happened, but that was disseminated through word of mouth for like hundreds of years and then written down by guys that heard it hundreds of or thousands of years how it happened in a different language and then translated three different times from three different languages that are all dead languages now, from Latin and Aramaic and all this. And you have to wonder like if this was real history that just got like diluted and you put something in Google Translate, make it translate through 10 different languages, it's going to be completely different than what it was when you first put it in.
Right.
So it's
Well,
like it got like diluted, but it's real history. There was a great flood that happened, and
yes.
there's a
And I
lot of
think people could communicate through all of these, like, extra senses that we have very little to no access to, that they're trying to help bring back now.
yeah.
I don't think that language was a barrier in ancient times the way that it
No,
is today.
yeah, I don't it definitely was a different, there was it was I'm a firm believer that society was way more advanced than we give credit for in
I
ancient
think so
times.
too. I think
And
so too.
there was some kind of catastrophe that wiped out civilization and knocked us back to the Stone Age. And that's
Yeah.
why we only have written history of the last 10,000 years or so.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's happened. I think that your point of a catastrophe wiping out civilization, I think that's happened before.
Yeah, I think it's happened multiple times.
I think so too. I think every, however long there's a reset.
Look, humans have been around on this planet for conservative estimates are saying 200,000 years. Now they're saying anatomically modern humans might be even older than that. It might be like 500 to a million years we've been anatomically modern. And you're going to tell me that in 300,000 years or 200,000 years, we only just invented civilization in the last 10? Like, that just doesn't add up to me.
Yeah, I don't
You
think
know,
so.
I think there was civilizations, like great advanced civilizations that probably had technology that we couldn't even like comprehend today, and they just got wiped out by natural disasters or who knows what,
Well, it could have
uh
been a war too.
war
We
at
don't know.
I mean, there's a if you read the story of the fall of, is it the fall of Babylon or the fall where Lot's wife, she's told don't look back, just keep running, and she looks back and she's turned into a pillar of salt. You know, that really like, and there's fire and brimstone raining down from the sky. You know, that sounds like an ancient person trying to describe like a nuclear war,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's what happened, that there was some kind of nuclear war or whatever, but it's interesting. And there's a site, I think in India, it was an ancient temple site that is highly irradiated, apparently. And there are bodies there that were discovered, archaeological in the archaeological dig that were like burned. It looks like the bodies were like burned to a crisp, and the whole area is highly irradiated. So it's
Hmm.
like, okay, maybe there was some kind of natural disaster, but it's just very like interesting, like what could have happened there. And I forgot the name of the site. It's a place in India. I've heard about it recently. And it's thousands of years old, this site. Um, but who knows? Anyway, we're so off track now.
All
Ancient
right.
civilizations, but so
Oh, you mean Kerala?
yes, I think that's it.
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
that is a wild story, because it's like, what the hell happened there?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, we can get to that at some other point. As back to Santa Claus as we know him. Basically, everything that we talked about before, just cut its balls off. Give it as much commercialization as possible. Don't make it about being kind to everybody. Just make it about giving really rude kids Christmas presents for things that maybe they were good, maybe they weren't. You really don't care. You just want to buy stuff. That's basically what Christmas is today. You also eat a bunch of food, which is great. And
Yeah.
but the Santa Claus that we know, it is just some fat guy who brings presents to everybody, and they're supposed to be good, but we don't really know. The punishment is not as high for Santa Claus. Really, he just gives him coal, or maybe he just skips the house because he forgot. I don't know.
Yes.
He does that with divorced kids. He just skips the house.
Well, that kind of brings us to our other character that we're talking about, and that's Krampus, of course. And Krampus is this demonic looking goat man, evil demon person.
Yes.
And
Krampus, the demon Santa.
and it was in the Germanic tradition, basically during the festival of Saint Nicholas.
Yes.
While Saint Nicholas was coming to bring the children toys, the good children toys, Krampus would come, and he would put the bad children in burlap sacks and beat them with reeds.
Yes, he would. Well, they had it coming.
Yeah. So
Oh,
that's obviously been tamed down with the story of Santa Claus.
We did also forget to mention Saint Nicholas's kind friend Black Pete, which is, well, not the best idea. It is aged quite horribly. It's I wish it was just a guy who, in like more modern traditions, he's some guy who's covered in soot and ashes from the chimney, but way back when it was literally just Santa's black friend who that's it.
his one black friend.
I Yeah, that's basically what it was. It was not the best idea. But I think he would just give like sticks to like I think he would give the coal or he would give the sticks, but now he like has been upgraded to just give the kids candy.
Yeah.
But anyway, they've kind of moved away from Black Pete, but I just
Well,
thought we should mention that.
yeah. Uh, well,
Oh yeah, did he
apparently,
ever did Santa just get a wife did Mrs. Claus come around as like an American tradition thing? Because
that's a good question.
I don't see older stories discussing her at all.
Santa Claus.
So I'm
So we had
wondering if
Saint Nick,
like
Father
Mrs.
Christmas, um, the Ghost of Christmas Present. Ba, 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 ba. See, it's hard to say because that could even go back to like the Norse interpretation of Odin. Because Odin had a wife, uh,
Yeah, when
Frigga.
did Mrs. Claus first appears? It seems like she was first mentioned in the 1849 short story A Christmas Legend by James Rees. So interesting. So she kind of just showed up and that was it, I
Hmm.
guess.
Well, I mean, the lore of Santa Claus, like I said, has been built up so over like generations and
Yeah,
generations.
yeah. A
So
Philadelphia-based Christian missionary, James Rees. Oh, so again, the church just trying to weasel its way into everything. All right. So Mrs. Claus is let's just say that they just made her up just to uphold the American values, I suppose.
yeah,
Anyway, there's some speaking of things Krampus would like to shove in his sack or maybe do a couple of other things too.
yeah. Well, Krampus. So Santa Claus has always had
Mi-
traditionally has had helpers and as the elves, and that goes back I think to Krampus as well.
Wouldn't
And
Mrs. Claus like to be beaten with a birch rod?
yeah, maybe. Oh gosh, that.
Maybe.
Well, Krampus goes back even farther than that though, because Krampus, people are actually it's unclear on where Krampus came from. There are some people that have said that it's folklorists and anthropologists that have said that Krampus has pre-Christian origins. So Krampus might be another holdover from the pagan traditions.
That's possible.
I think it makes a lot of sense because of the appearance of Krampus being, like a goat man kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's very, associated with like, there's a lot of goat or horned gods in paganism.
You know what?
And
That makes me wonder if this is one of the other scare tactics that were introduced from the Dark Ages when they were trying to when like once they didn't really need the pagans anymore during the rise of Christianity, they started taking pagan items and like
well,
perverting
that's
it into a
yes,
devil.
they did, and
That makes sense as to
that's
how we
why
got the devil.
that's why in a lot and it's interesting because in modern Christian traditions the devil is associated with having horns and goat feet and a
Hmm.
tail, and that's directly against pagan traditions of like Pan and Sonorius. They're both horned gods in pagan tradition, and it's interesting because that they made Satan look like that to demonize paganism when originally Satan was an angel.
Yes.
Satan, so Satan looks like an angel, with the winged, and I think John Milton's Paradise Lost depicts Satan, in a better way. Lucifer's,
Yes, as beautiful.
yes, because Satan was beautiful. He was,
He was the favorite.
Lucifer was at one point God's most trusted angel,
Yes.
and and obviously he tried to overthrow God and then was thrown down into hell for as punishment. And there's an interesting John Milton actually brings up an interesting point and makes
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Lucifer almost into a tragic figure because angels didn't, in traditional Christian folklore, do not have free will. Humans are the only thing in God's creation that has free will. So,
allegedly.
Yes. So Lucifer was destined, preordained to betray God, making him somewhat of a tragic figure because that was his destiny to do that.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that gives me that kind of lends truth to one of my life philosophies is, and I mean, I'm not gonna make like a whole thing and go off on another tangent with it, but I don't. The older I get, the less coincidence I believe in, and I honestly don't think that there's such thing as coincidence. I also, I also, I also don't believe in free will or choice. I think that choices and free will is a man-made illusion. I don't think that we actually have any control over any choices. I don't think choices are real. I think that everything is predetermined in some strange cosmic engine.
See, I don't think that's true. I think we might have little influence on the universe at large, but I think I've been really coming into this belief more recently after doing a lot of reading and reflecting and meditating that we're all basically part of the same life force, and it's the universe itself. Like, we're all part of the universe itself experiencing life in a mortal perspective, right? So and when we die, we return to the life stream after having experienced mortal life, and that's it. And basically, you could choose to come back or stay or whatever, but we're all, put on the earth to experience mortality basically and live life. And some people suffer and some people have good life. And it's, you're just trying to make the best of a mortal life in a short time, because it's only, what's the age, the average age is like 70s, or 80s. People live to 100 or more now, but that's still not as super common.
I do agree that we're part of something greater, but I don't necessarily believe that we have any true influence over anything and that our choices are there. I think we are
I
set
think
to experience. I think we are set to experience mortality.
that the choices that we make are part of the experience of living a mortal life. So yeah, maybe we don't have a lot of influence on the universe at large as mortal beings, but that's not what we're here to do. We're not
But I don't
we're not put on
necessarily
this
believe
place
in.
to influence the universe. We're here to live and have experience and and live a life. And I think that's a nice thought, that we're all a part of the universe experiencing itself from different perspectives.
Yes, but I don't think that we necessarily have choice. I think choice is I don't think the choice is real or true. Um, I mean, we could debate about that until forever.
Yeah.
That's my thought. The older that I get, the less I believe that we have actual choices.
Hmm.
I think we have the illusion of choice, but I think
Maybe.
that we would not. I think that you run a simulation a million different times, and I'm not saying we live in a simulation. I'm saying that you run this a million times, and maybe things happen slightly different, but I think that it's more. I think that it's all constants. I don't think. I think that what happens around you is a variable, but I don't think that, or certain to a certain degree, but I think that everything is a constant, and we have the illusion of choice, and I think the illusion of choice feels good. So that, and I think that's something that we like to think that we have because it helps. It helps. It helps when you're talking about meaning and purpose, and the purpose is just to live and experience it, and that's what
Yeah.
all the meaning and purpose is. But it's not to make choices. You are set on a course, and your job is to experience what's
See,
laid
I
out for
disagree.
you.
I disagree because you could just disconnect from anything and go live on a homestead in Alaska,
But I don't
in
think
the
you
Alaskan
actually.
wilderness.
But would you? I
Why
don't think
not?
you actually
Plenty
would.
of people do.
Yes, and I think that that's. I think that's their. I think that's what they're designed to do.
No, not necessarily. People have dropped out of society. I mean, look at the Unabomber. It's a perfect example. He was a Harvard professor, and he dropped out of society and lived in a cabin with no electricity.
But I don't think that was a real choice.
Why? Why not?
I think that's the course that he was always set on.
See, I don't think. I don't think so. I don't. I don't think there's. I don't. I think that destiny is possible, but I think there's variation between it. Like, there's a quote from the Mummy which I really like when they're talking about predestination, and because they're, and it's actually in the second movie, and Ardeth Bay, the Magi, is talking to Rick, and he's
Best
like,
character in the franchise.
yeah, he's fucking awesome. And he's basically saying, like, how, like, because Rick is basically preordained to protect Evie because she's the reincarnation of Nefertiti, and he's the reincarnation of a Magi, and he's like, doesn't believe it, and he's like, he basically says, like, well, if this is all preordained, then, like, what's the answer? Like, how does it win? And Ardeth Bay makes a good point. He says it's only the journey that's written, not the destination. So I think there's many paths in life, and maybe it seems like there's an illusion, or maybe there is no real choice. Like, but I don't think that. I think the paths are written, but not necessarily the conclusion or what path we take.
I
So,
like that.
yeah, I think that's interesting. But back to Krampus. We kind of went off on another tangent because of paganism and the demonization of paganism by Christianity. And actually, this goes farther into that because apparently in the 17th century, that was when Krampus was originally paired with Saint Nicholas. Even though the Krampus tradition goes back many centuries, the 17th century is when they paired it with the Saint Nicholas, with Saint Nicholas as his helper, because apparently the belief was because Saint Nicholas was a saint, it didn't make it what he wasn't. It wasn't saintly for him to deliver punishment to bad kids. So they needed someone bad to deliver the punishment to the bad kids. Therefore, he was like, "Oh well, Krampus, we have him already."
Yeah. It almost sounds like something Jerry Stiller came up with.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It's like the Festivus tradition.
Rest his soul. Yes.
Krampus also goes similarly with an Austrian tradition called Knecht Ruprecht, which is he's another like spirit. They call him farmhand Robert or servant Rupert or farm Rupert, and he's similar to Krampus except not as demonic looking. He just looks like a dwarf, almost like a traditional dwarf or an elf.
He's a house elf.
Yeah. And he goes and punishes the bad kids. And I think the Krampus myth really kind of basically morphed into the elves. Like Krampus became the elves. And this is actually, it's funny because this is mentioned on an episode of Sopranos where Paulie's saying how, like, the elves used to be ugly and they would punish the bad kids. And, it was basically, he was talking about Krampus.
Yeah. No, there are, what do they call? Well, the elves that they're referring to are called the Yule lads. And the Yule lads are just like a bunch of different elves that, well, really picture Santa. They're basically Krampus's 7 dwarves of that just run around like torturing children in various ways.
Mm-hmm.
That yeah, it isn't just that he beats the children that are just beyond the point of no return, the children that truly have evil in their hearts. He shoves them in his sack and he takes them to hell with him, and then he decides what he's gonna do with them when they get there. So there's kind of just a conga line of like just these like irredeemable children, I guess. And he just kind of, he kind of just sizes them up and just decides whether or not he's going to eat them, drown them, or burn them, I think. And it's it's not great. Should have just taken the sticks, kid. But, so that kid in what the hell is the name of that song? That Christmas song, the kid who's not getting any presents for Christmas, or the angel in the Christmas play, those kids would go right into Krampus's sack. No, no presents for Christmas. There's that one kid who's not getting nothing for Christmas, and then there's the other, and his parents are mad, and that should be the least of their concerns. And then there's the other one who's the angel in the Christmas play, and both of these kids getting stuffed in Krampus's sack and just God knows what's going to happen to them. Well, been good for them. They'll only say that's why we have these memories of their final song before Krampus comes and good old Rupert and the Yule lads come down the chimney and just wreak havoc upon their poor souls. Mm-hmm. But they had it coming, which is another good song that could play afterwards. When the parents are by themselves with peace and quiet for once in their lives, listening to the Chicago soundtrack, because what else were they going to do? Well, no,
you got another thing coming.
No, that's the before song when Krampus comes down. That's Krampus's theme song.
Oh,
when he comes down the chimney and just eats them, just soul or give me your soul, please. I feel like Krampus would say please ironically.
Give me your soul, please. He's not very nice.
Well, he's not supposed to be. There's excuse me, but yeah, there's various other figures too. There's also a lady that I believe her name is Prekta. She's a Krampus associate as well.
Krampus and Associates.
It sounds like a law firm.
Yeah.
Nicholas Krampus and Associates.
Nicholas Krampus and Associates.
Or just Nicholas and Krampus. I don't know. But Krampus definitely. Yeah, you have Rupert. I'm trying to find the rest of the companions.
I think Krampus probably has more movies based off of him than Santa Claus, or maybe as many, because there's a million friggin' Krampus movies, and they're all horror movies, by the way. Most of them are direct-to-video horror movies.
I've only seen the 2015 one.
Yeah, that was the big one. That was actually in theaters, the Krampus 2015 one. But there's Krampus the Christmas Devil, Vom Krampus, Zwischen Lat Axot und Schaffel, which was a documentary, Krampus the Reckoning, A Christmas Horror Story.
Oh, there's Hans Trapp, which is another one, a former
Krampus.
greedy man who eats human flesh.
Krampus the Devil Returns.
He beats kids too. There's just like there's a lot of traditions of just beating children, and
Krampus
there's
Unleashed.
also some stuff.
Mother Krampus 2, Krampus Origins.
Frau Perkta, that's the one.
Oh, apparently Krampus is in the new fucking Red 1 movie with Dwayne Johnson also, which I heard was awful.
Oh, geez. Well, I'm not watching that, so that's fine.
Dwayne.
But yeah, there's but yes, Krampus runs around terrorizing all of these children who are getting what they deserve, or maybe they're not.
Apparently there's also Gorilla, who's a monstrous entity who lives in the wilderness of Iceland. and she's another troll-like crone who wanders between human settlements and demands charity from those she encounters, often asking for naughty children. So there you go. She's the mother of the Yule lads.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. So every part of this is linked. They're all linked. Everything is linked.
Yes, what does Prekta do? I just had her too. Damn it. American Ghost Walks. Don't let me down. It's quite a few. Yes, from the snowy realms of Bavaria and Austria. Frau Perchta. She leaves coins for children who have been good, but if they've been bad, well,
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
she eats them, I think. Well, actually, she shoves garbage in them. She makes them eat garbage, which, that's one way to do it.
I wonder if some regions link back to the Baba Yaga.
Some of them might. There's Belsnickel, which, if you've seen The Office, you have a humorous idea of what that is, but there's not really a direct interpretation. He's another German one who he throws candy on the floor, but he also beats children with a switch as they try to pick up the candy. There's quite a few. There's a lot of different ones. For some reason in this article, the Black Peter looks like Cody Rhodes in blackface, and it's an image that I never want to see again, but now I'll never be able to burn it out of my mind. But yeah, there's quite a few interesting ones. But I think if we go back to it, it all kind of goes back to Germanic pagan roots. But the best part of Krampus is that there are parades every year across the world now. You used to see it mostly in just the European and Scandinavian countries. You would see the Krampus parade, which is usually part of the Christmas parade, and they're usually accompanying St. Nicholas. But it's become such a popular holiday icon that he ends up getting a parade of his own, and more to it. And I'd like to see a lot more of these things. But you see them popping up, and it's really funny when you watch these parades because there's parents bringing their children there, their young children there to be with the hope of them being terrified. So you just see happy parents, Krampuses running around, fire everywhere, and just this crying fucking kid. And the parents are super happy and smiling. Also, Krampus likes to drink. So all of the people in the Krampus costumes are hammered, just doing this, and it's not, and they don't go cheap on the cosplay. These are really good Krampus costumes.
Yeah.
So it must be terrifying to be a Scandinavian 7-year-old around the holidays.
Yeah.
And plus your parents are probably drunk as hell too. So they're probably offering you up to get beaten with a stick. And it's probably just considered good fun in Norway.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I guess what else are you gonna do? You can't exactly go burn down a church these days.
Yeah.
But, oh man, just very interesting things that you will see during these parades. But also, as you said, there's a bunch of Krampus movies that are around, and you even and we've even started to get them in the States. It's a big thing in certain parts of in Austin, Texas, they do it, which kind of a weird place, but that you wouldn't expect, but that's been a thing going for quite a few years. And I don't know of the other cities that do it, but that's at least the first one that comes to mind. I'm surprised I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a Las Vegas thing, because why the hell not? You'll never see that in New York City, but maybe you will someday when we go back to the pagan world. And wouldn't that be a nice time? I would love to go to a parade like that, but they recently had the first one south of the border in San Antonio, Texas, and San Antonio is not as transplanty or as like liberal as Austin, Texas might be. So they've still got a lot of like, church folk and Christmas folk. Is kind of like the more like quiety suburban-y part of Texas. And of course the church was pissed off because San Antonio did their first Krampus parade ever this year, which was probably tame by Scandinavian standards, but still you had that fun going on. And of course 53% of the people polled on newsforsanantonio.com thought that the Krampus parade was a bad idea, which already tells you where it's going. They did this parade, and the church folk and a lot of the people were not happy. But it cracked me up because, of course, the quote here, and I'll just kind of do the quotes actually, you know what? I'll just read the whole article because this just kind of tickled my fancy. By SBG San Antonio staff reports, Krampus parade debuts in San Antonio amid controversy among church leaders. The first of its kind in San Antonio, the controversial Krampus parade featuring a half-goat, half-human that terrorizes children who have been bad. The Krampus parade, which starts at 6:30 p.m. tonight at the Blue Star, has been growing in popularity throughout parts of the U.S., but this will be a first in San Antonio. More recently, the Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Siller has expressed concern that this could cause stress for children. Krampus has become popular, appearing in movies, TV, games, and holiday greeting cards. In traditional parades, young men dressed as Krampus attempt to scare the audience. The character is based on taking naughty children to hell, where they belong. Okay, I added that part. This parade is something the Archbishop says could frighten and cause nightmares in children. Other church leaders say tonight's parade is a cause for concern. It alarms me that a demon that's half goat that comes into town to drag naughty children to hell, said Pastor Mark Lugo of SA Impact Ministries. It's just the fact that you're taking too deeply into it where the festivities. It's like Halloween. Officials with the San Antonio Family Association released a statement in response to the Krampus parade. This hashtag Krampus parade is promoting evil through the scaring of children into submission and threats of dragging them to hell on the eve of one of Jesus' saints' feast day, St. Nicholas, who's more widely known as Santa Claus. If you had done your homework, you would know that no one actually knows what Jesus' real birthday is. That was made up by the church, who was just kind of like, well, it's in December, so don't worry about it. I don't know why they turned into like a weird Christopher Walken, Rudy Giuliani hybrid. They just did. I was trying to go for John Travolta, and it was just going to be too easy. So it was, I don't really want to associate the Pope just sounding like, oh, Jesus, oh my God. But yeah, back to the article. St. Nicholas is known for his incredible charity in the 4th century Asia Minor, modern-day Turkey, especially towards families with daughters who would either get married or be forced into prostitution. St. Nick would secretly help dads out with the much-needed dowries for the would-be husband to help them be positioned to live a virtuous and healthy life. Through his gift-giving, St. Nick became known as Santa Claus, which is the Dutch tradition of his name. Is that true with the dowries and, making sure that, fathers had, one choice, had, two choices with their daughters? They would either have to get married or they would just become hookers? That there was no third option? Really? Okay. And this last bit is, there seems to be a concerted attempt by the devil to create another reason to party to actually shake people's faiths in God, especially children, and rip a hole in the Christian heritage of our community known as San Antonio, a.k.a. the city of St. Anthony. All for just a fun time And just another secular human tradition that'll be good for business. Huh! The parade begins at 6:30 p.m. at the Blue Star and will proceed through the King William neighborhood. Hope everybody had a great time. Oh, the Family Association is also planning... Oh, that's the one comment. The Family Association is planning a prayer rally at 6:30 p.m. outside Herman Sans Home Association, bar off South Mary Street. So, if you went to this parade in San Antone, let us know in the comments or just send us an email and just let us know. How was the Krampus parade? If you've ever been to a Krampus parade, let us know. So that means we want to hear from the folks over in the Scandinavian countries to just let us know you're alive. Or, if your kids are in hell because they were bad. Either of those things will suffice. But, yeah, I think we need to see a lot more Krampus parades. And I think Krampus is overdue to make an appearance at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And I, for one, would absolutely welcome it. He can follow Saint Nick, or he could come before Saint Nick, just past the turkey. And yeah, in between the turkey and Santa Claus, I think would be the perfect spot for Krampus to show up at at this year's Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Just beating all of the bad children of New York. I think that would be great. Just take out just shoving some kids into sacks, and then just taking out just the birch and, get a whip for, some of the bad moms out there, and, just do a bunch of, just start beating people. Honestly, I mean, everybody's been pretty bad in New York every year, so I think Krampus can just indiscriminately just start going to town, and I think I think everybody would be for the better.
Yeah. Probably would, but I mean, I don't know if there's enough Krampuses to go around for New York City.
This is true. We're just gonna have to open the gates of hell.
Yeah.
So anyway, what else has really changed? The gates of hell might as well just be the manholes covering the sewers.
Yeah.
Otherwise, let's just say Krampus is going over a taxi. They might not even notice. They might just say, "What the hell was that?" And he might just be, I don't know, looked like a big fucking turtle to me. So, who knows? But that is all that I have to say about Santa, Krampus,
yep.
The pagan religion being destroyed by Christianity, and the universe abroad.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, I've been Chris.
And I've been Rob.
And this has been Why Does This Exist? Happy New Year, everybody. Remember, question everything.
Good night, everybody.
And if your children have been dragged to hell this Christmas because they were very bad, well, just sit down with the missus and just relax to the soothing sounds of Chicago. They had it coming.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.